Let's move on now, because just in the last few hours, the Senate has overwhelmingly voted down a push by One Nation leader Pauline Hanson to scrap net zero by 2050 and prioritise cheap and reliable energy. Here was the exchange.
A lot of the school children these days are crying, they're upset because they feel the world's coming to an end. Well, I'll tell you something, it's not. This has become a political football for those people just to use this to gain votes. The scaremongering that goes on with the younger generation.
One Nation senators were joined by Coalition Senators Matt Canavan and Alex Antic, and United Australia Party Senator Ralph Babet, making up 7 in favour. Labor, the remainder of the coalition, the crossbench and the Greens all voted against Pauline Hanson's motion with 39 noes. And Senator Pauline Hanson joins me now. Senator, well, look, it was an overwhelming no by the Senate. What's your message to the coalition senators who won't divulge their position on this?
Well, there was only 2 on the Liberal Party. That was Jane Hume and Andrew McLaughlin that voted with Labor. The rest of them were out of the chamber. They abstained from voting. They're gutless and they're cowards because they couldn't put the name to it and they didn't want to. And I take my hat off to Matt Canavan and to Babet and to also Alex Antic, who actually supported the motion. We are fighting for the Australians out there, the families, the small businesses, the farming sector,
Before you go, there's something even more surprising coming next. The next clip reveals what they didn't want Australians to notice, and it's already changing the political landscape. Stay with me, make sure you're subscribed.
One that's doing it tough because the net zero is seeing them go under with high electricity costs. Every family out there, everyone who's watching this program knows that the electricity costs have gone up by hundreds of % under this farce of this net zero. And it's just ridiculous. We're destroying our economy, our manufacturing industry businesses, they're going overseas. So it's just ridiculous.
Oh, look, I completely agree with you. I've got to play you some audio of 21-year-old Labor Senator Charlotte Walker. She said that your motion shows that you have a severe lack of knowledge on the issue. This is what she said.
The motion put forward by Senator Hanson to scrap net zero indicates a severe lack of knowledge and a complete disregard for the future of our generation, the future of our country.
Senator, is this the Greta Thunberg era playing out in the Senate?
You better believe it, because she said she grew up on the farm. Well, farm that uses diesel, petroleum products to actually do the farming machinery to actually run. And I don't think she really understands about what net zero is. And remember the question I asked of Penny Wong one time, what is net zero? She couldn't even answer the question. Most of those parliamentarians have no idea about net zero. They can't debate you on the issue. They don't know the facts or figures. And this is why they just come in there and they just vote, whichever way the wind's blowing, whichever way their whips are sitting in the chamber. We don't have those politicians that really have researched and understand. Our job is to research the legislation, to look at what's in the best interest for the people of this nation. And when I see people living homeless, people can't afford to put on their heating or their cooling, pensioners that are actually dying because of it. We've seen what's happened in England and other countries around the world. Germany's woken up to themselves because the economy is in dire straits. We see that Trump has said no way in the world for our economy here.
Now here's where things get even more interesting, because what happened next completely changed the tone of the debate, and most people completely missed it. Stay with me, make sure you're subscribed.
And we're the fools that are still being headed down this path. And that young kid, that's what I'm saying, she's no sooner out of bloody university and out of her nappies that she's telling me I don't know what the hell I'm talking about when I've been on the floor of Parliament for the last 9 years. I don't take any notice of her, who she's trying to make her place in this Parliament, and congratulations, she got elected to it. But don't come in thinking that you're going to tell me what I know or I don't know when I've been dealing with this for many years.
Yeah, and you're spot on, absolutely. And yeah, it's a shame that the coalition scurried away very quickly. They didn't want to hear about it. Now, look, I've got to ask you about migration policy. The coalition is moving on from Peter Dutton's stance on it, with Shadow Immigration Minister Paul Scar looking to adopt a policy focusing on empathy, empowerment and admiration. He said, quote, "We are a party that believes passionately in the fundamental freedoms of the individual, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of association. So many of our migrants come from places where they don't have those freedoms." Senator, look, big Australia is getting bigger by the day. Whatever happened to capping migration, basic policy?
Well, and he wants the positives of migration. No worries. You go out and tell the people out there who can't get a house, they can't rent a house, they can't buy a house, and the high immigration that's coming into the country. Is that what it is? Are you moving to the left now to appeal to those that have migrated to this country? Because we've had huge numbers come in. You know, in 1 year there, 22 to 23, 737,000. And this year, from the beginning year till April, it was 217,000 with another 35,000 in May that have come into the country. Oh, that's a great move, Paul. You know, do you know what's happening in Queensland? A lot of people living homeless. And I just don't understand the way of thinking. I'm not against immigration, Danica, but I am for the high numbers that we're bringing into the country because Australians are suffering. And it's so stupid. They're appealing to those people. These ones that are coming out here, yes, we can have empathy, but my empathy starts with the Australians that are here now. The ones that are homeless, the ones that can't get their own house, the future generations, what is out there for them? If we keep bringing the high numbers in the country, what about the people? What about, you know, is it promising for those people?
What we've just seen in the Senate is another explosive political clash that has reignited Australia's ongoing battle over net zero, energy prices, and the future direction of the country's economy. Just hours ago, the Senate delivered a decisive rejection to One Nation leader Pauline Hanson's push to scrap net zero by 2050 and instead prioritise what she described as cheap and reliable energy. The motion failed overwhelmingly, with Labor, the Greens, and most of the coalition voting it down, while only a small group of crossbench and coalition senators backed it. But what followed was not just a policy defeat, it turned into a political firestorm. In a heated exchange, Pauline Hanson directly criticised the lack of support from coalition senators, accusing those who did not vote or refused to clearly state their position of avoiding accountability. In her words, they were gutless and cowards, arguing they were unwilling to stand publicly for their stance on one of the most controversial energy policies in Australian politics. Her argument was blunt and emotional. She claimed net zero policies are not just abstract climate goals, but real-world economic pressure points, pointing to rising electricity prices, struggling households, and small businesses under financial stress. According to Hanson, ordinary Australians are paying the price, while politicians continue to push what she calls unrealistic energy targets. The debate then escalated when criticism came from younger voices in politics, including Senator Charlotte Walker, who argued that scrapping net zero reflects a lack of understanding and a disregard for future generations. She framed the policy as essential for long-term climate responsibility and national progress, but Hanson strongly rejected that criticism. She pushed back hard, questioning the experience and credibility of younger politicians entering Parliament, arguing that many of them, in her view, do not fully understand the complexity of energy policy or economic impact. She insisted that decisions must be based on real-world outcomes, not ideology or political branding. This is where the debate shifts from simple policy disagreement into a much deeper generational and ideological conflict between climate-driven economic reform and cost-of-living-driven political urgency. Supporters of net zero argue it is a necessary transition towards sustainable energy and global responsibility, while critics like Hanson claim it is accelerating deindustrialisation, pushing up energy prices and damaging Australia's manufacturing base. And this disagreement is not just political, it is becoming increasingly personal and polarised inside Parliament itself. The discussion then expanded into another major national issue, migration. Hanson criticised the coalition's evolving immigration stance, arguing that Australia is already under extreme pressure from high population inflows. She pointed to housing shortages, rental crises, and overwhelmed public services such as healthcare and the NDIS. Her central argument was simple but controversial. Australia, she says, must prioritise its own citizens first before increasing migration levels. She warned that continued high immigration without infrastructure growth is worsening homelessness, hospital wait times, and cost of living pressures. On the other side, government supporters frame migration as essential for economic growth, workforce expansion, and protecting Australia's long-term demographic balance. So what we are seeing here is not just one policy debate, but two competing visions of Australia's future. One vision prioritises climate targets, global alignment, and long-term structural reform. The other prioritises immediate economic relief, national capacity, and domestic welfare pressures. And both sides claim they are acting in the best interests of Australians. Towards the end of the exchange, the tone briefly shifted away from hard politics into a lighter moment as Hanson commented on an unexpected visitor at her home, a snake found in her backyard, jokingly contrasting the dangers of wildlife with what she described as the snakes in politics inside Parliament itself. While humorous, it also reflected the underlying tone of the entire discussion: deep mistrust, political frustration, and a highly divided parliamentary environment. Ultimately, this Senate clash highlights a much larger issue facing Australian politics today: a growing divide not only between parties, but between economic priorities, generational perspectives, and competing definitions of what national interest actually means. And as this debate continues, the key question remains unresolved. Is Australia's current energy and migration direction sustainable? Or is political pressure building for a major shift in policy? One thing is clear: this is far from over, and the political temperature is only rising.